like in this time they ought not to be still talking about urban renewal. That's because that's all the city has been talking about it since uh, well before Gay Street. That's what made me get interested in urban renewal because the city has always been taking property for what they call urban renewal. And they have been taking it for years and years and years. Matter of fact, I call it making a space for black people because what came out of it is the laws that was on the city books that restricted black people where black people could live in East Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
We could only live in the areas where we lived from fourth from let me see 417 Bond Street to we couldn't even cross Preston Street.
Mm. And you said the urban renewal is what made you become interested. So the Broadway project, is that what you're talking about? When Hopkins moved out, a lot of the families.
Even before Hopkins moved out of the families, uh, when the first urban renewal law, I think, was passed in before Hopkins made its first move. Hopkins forced people out of the 300 block of Bond Street, or in order to build Douglas Homes, the projects, the first project, and that's in East Baltimore, right there on the corner of Orleans and Bond Street. And that was a big project, but it was all public housing, and it's still around. It's still around.
How was Citizens for Fair Housing successful in changing the way urban renewal was done in Baltimore? What did you all do?
We weren't successful, even though we did go to Washington and we did talk. The only thing that we changed was the laws about urban renewal people coming back to the neighborhood that they moved from. We did house Citizens for Fair Housing. We did house the first families that was allowed to come back after urban renewal, after houses had been renovated and rebuilt. People did come back to the neighborhood, and we did have that in writing at that time. I can't remember the year, but it is on the city records. And the second thing we did was to make that an official act. That after all urban renewal stuff, people had a right to come back to those neighborhoods. But what chopped that up was people's incomes. They didn't have the money. After these new houses are built, and prices go up, and up. Only thing left was subsidies. And we also built a housing complex, Madison Square, or Odessa Thomas Courts. That's the famous name. But we built that development. It was only 63 units, and we hired, or not hired them, but rented to just women with children who worked for the school system. being hired as a teacher's aide was popular at that time, you know, and women were making money because they worked for the city, so they was making a little more than minimum wage. Wasn't much, but the name Odessa Courts was named after a woman who had worked as a domestic worker for about 20, maybe 30 years. And we named the project after her because she was what we call a neighborhood snoop. Anything you want to know about the neighbors, ask this woman, because she knew. And if she didn't know,
she's gonna find
and she know we needed to know, she would go to people's houses and ask the question. Anything she wanted to know, she asked the question and did it real gracefully. You know, we really do need to, and that dear Ray, we really do need the answer to this question. I mean, she wanted to know what was going on at Hopkins. She would have a dinner, invite Hopkins students from the university. That's how nosy she was. But we had it was 63 units of a mixture of apartments and townhouses. The townhouses was all 4 bedrooms, and apartments was all 2 and 3 bedrooms. Because by this time, the city wasn't really building houses for large families, and they're still not building them for large families. Not for rent anyway, but you can buy them. But they don't build anything bigger than a 4-bedroom. And I want to know that answer too. Like, why don't you build? Because black families have a need for a 4-bedroom. You know, black folks have 5, 6 children, sometimes more than that. When they take them all in, it's more than that. They may have had 4, but they need 8. They need about 8 bedrooms. Because one thing that we can always say from the history of black people in this country, we always got space for somebody else. Regardless of how many bedrooms we have, we got space to bring in some more children or some more adults. We always got space. I lived in 417 Bond Street with my grandmother, and my uncles and aunts lived in her house until they got on their feet and could get a job. We lost that. We really did. We really lost that. You know, now people trying to hold on to a little teeny weeny bit of space. Save some space for somebody else. But my grandmother says, you know, bring them in. If they ask, bring them in. They need a place to stay, bring them in. We'll find a place. And that's went out the window a long time ago. Really. Because now everything they build is 2 bedrooms. It's nothing bigger than a 3. And I used to pay attention to that.